Hello everyone, I am Sabe Phyu, the Director of Gender Equality Network, comprises of more than 100 organizations and individuals working for promoting women's rights and gender equality in Myanmar. I'm here today for presenting some of the structural causes behind increasing violence against women human rights defenders in the region by using Myanmar examples. Women human rights defenders are targeted for who they are, because they are women, as well as for what they do because of their work defending human rights and women's rights. In addition to gender, there are many economic, social, cultural, geographical factors that affect how women human rights defenders experience a violation. These factors include class, religion, age, language, sexual orientation, location, race, and ethnicity. These factors are exacerbated by the different contexts in which women human rights defenders live and work. For example, in militarized contexts, sexual and gender-based violence is used by state and non-state actors to assert or reassert gender and other social-political hierarchies and as a weapon of war. For example, in Myanmar, where military had ruled for over 6 decades, has been using rape and other forms of sexual violence, and it's done so routinely that it reflects a widespread culture of tolerance toward humiliation. Such act of violence has become a hallmark of the prolonged civil conflict with ethnic armed groups. In ethnic control areas where ethnic women and girls are most vulnerable. After several failed domestic and international agreements, the military continues to rape with impunity. But women across ethnic states are tired of living in fear. Impunity for SGBV in Myanmar is exacerbated by underlying gender inequality. The gendered impact of Myanmar's conflicts to be multifaceted, which invariably taking a heavy toll on women and girls. The obstacles to accountability for SGBV in Myanmar, such as impunity for the perpetrator, lack of political will, and lack of adequate legal protection and absence of relevant laws. Despite the challenging environment and limited civil space to promote human rights, the women human rights defenders in Myanmar have been passionately and persistently working towards improving the situations of gender equality and women's rights. In order to address the Myanmar government's lack of commitment to breaking the cycle of impunity for widespread SGBV, a problem that is exacerbated by broader structural barriers with respect to Myanmar's military justice system, and a lack of robust domestic options for accountability, Myanmar women human rights defenders, together with the government and all stakeholders, have drafted a new law, Prevention and Protection of Violence Against Women, or VOW, 8 years ago in 2013, but it remains to be adopted. The proposed law is an important opportunity for Myanmar to at long last ensure a comprehensive framework for addressing SGBV and gender, bring its domestic-based violence, bring its domestic laws in line with international obligations, and ensure adequate redress for violence to all women. However, lack of gender knowledge and understanding of gender dimensions in national development remains a major obstacle in adoption of the proposed POVAO law in Myanmar. Since 2015, Myanmar is being governed by a civilian-led democratic government. However, the democratic transition has been recently hampered by the illegitimate seizure of power by the military on 1 February 2021. That led to mass civil movements to demand the return of the civilian democratic government. Despite engaging in non-violent protests, thousands of civilians, including women and girls across the entire nation, have been brutally assaulted by the regime, with widespread arbitrary detention, sexual abuse of women and girls in detention, and extrajudicial killing. Given this military's record of using sexual violence as a weapon of war, we feel that the country's progress in enhancing the status of women and enhancing women's rights are at risk now more than ever. This recent development in Myanmar has further threatened the advancement of women empowerment and gender equality, and can even be considered as clock turning backwards. Women human rights defenders also face different risks and violations. Women human rights defenders need a holistic approach to security, need gender-specific protection measures that take into account their needs and realities. However, in the vast majority of cases, there are no specific mechanisms in place to protect women human rights defenders, or where they do exist, they are often hampered by a lack of implementation, political will, or gender sensitivity. It means protection must take into account unequal power relations between genders, as well as the discrimination and exclusion faced by women in most societies as a result of the mainstream social construction of gender. The work of women human rights defenders is essential for peace, security, development, and the respect of all our human rights. The work of women human rights defenders must be supported. Their safety, security, and protection must be ensured. Some considerations may include provide and guarantee an enabling environment for women human rights defenders and their organizations, so that they may exercise their legitimate rights to freedom of association, expression, and assembly, and continue defending their rights and those of their constituents. Strengthen protection mechanisms by adopting legislation, policies, and programs focused on eliminating the structural causes of violence against women human rights defenders, punishing the perpetrators of abuse and violence, review and repeal policies and practices that are not in line with international human rights standards laws that restrict civil space, strengthen access to justice for women and girls. Thank you so much.